I wanted to kind of talk today about why I retired, how that works for us, and the process we had to go through in order to start caring for Jason instead of sending him to a day activity center. Um, Over the last few years, once he got out of school, he was in a pretty decent program, and his school was awesome. It was in Rancho Cucamonga. So when we moved out to the desert, um, it made things a little more complicated. I was still working full time. My husband Mike works full time. Jason's dad, of course, works full time. But there were the kids, the older kids. My daughter Miranda, Jason's sister, and also uh, Jason's two brothers from his dad's second marriage. They were old enough, even though they're younger than Jace. They had gotten to the point where they were old enough that they could kind of watch him in a few hours before his dad got home, things like that. So we were able to kind of juggle it. Then, of course, they're preparing to go to college, move on to their lives. Miranda moved to Las Vegas, so she and her boyfriend are living in Las Vegas, getting their life started. So we had to kind of come to some kind of a solution to be able to keep Jason home, because after COVID, for whatever reason, they tightened up all their regulations. Now, Jason was always compliant with wearing a mask. He still is. It would get down under his nose and we'd have to remind him to pull it up. But other than that, he had no problem wearing it. And he loves water and soap, so washing his hands was not a problem. However, the school or not the school, the day activity program and the county, their assessment was that he was not, I don't know if it wasn't that he wasn't able or he refused or what, but their assessment was, and it's in the paperwork, that he was not compliant with wearing his mask and washing his hands. Absolutely not true. So I think it was more his behavior issues, which is interesting because the day activity center he was in was a behavior modification. It was for behavior challenged individuals, adults. So to me, their job was to help figure out how to modify those behaviors. We do it at home, but we were working full time. So it was like, that's what you get paid to do, right? Center? But instead, they claim that after COVID, well, we can't take him back because of his hygiene issues, which is just bogus, to be honest. Anyway, so we fine, whatever, and we started keeping him at home and kind of trying to figure out who had time, how we could schedule everybody around his schedule, our work schedule, all of that. And in the process, I started to discover that there were a lot of things that he was capable of that no one was challenging him to do at the center. But I also found that all of his self-abuse had started to calm down. I mean, he still does it. He slaps himself. Sometimes he socks himself on the cheek. He'll do this to his chin. He still does it when he's frustrated. But he was beating himself up so badly that he was having black eyes. And he banged his head into things, and then he'd have cuts, and they couldn't deal with that at the day activity center. Well, all of a sudden, he's not doing that. I think he was unhappy there. Of course, he's happier being at home because there's a little more freedom, and he knows us, and there's not as much anxiety. So it's a good thing for him that this has happened. However, now we need to figure out how to enrich his life and make sure that we're doing all we can, that he's, reaching goals and so on. So we're working through that. Anyway, we also had to make sure we had full conservatorship of him, because if he goes to the doctor, medication, everything about his life, we have to be able to help make those decisions for him. He doesn't know how to handle money. He's learning how to do certain things for himself, but as far as independence, he's a long way from ever being independent. And even if he does get to the point where he can live independently, he'd have to have somebody coming in each day to check on certain things. So he's got to be supervised, and his money and all of the legal details, just basic living needs, all of that has to be supervised. So we pursued guardian or conservatorship. So $3,600 later and a few years later, we finally have been granted conservatorship for Jace, so we can kind of help him through all of the like I said, legal aspects, medical, health, all those things. The financial challenges, of course, being for us to be home with him, one of us had to quit working. And I'm the oldest. I turned 62 last year. So I was eligible for retirement, albeit not, retirement isn't anything to live on. So it didn't even meet half of my income. But we realized it was the best decision. So I either could stay home during the day and then go to work at night when my husband Mike got home, or, we had to work something out. Well, what I realized was, and Jason's dad reminded me of this, is that he's got IHSS, which is in-home support service money. That was granted because he wasn't, he was no longer eligible for the day activity center, since they said no, he doesn't qualify anymore because of his hygiene. They had to grant us IHSS. Well, that meant someone either coming into the home, or in our case, it meant that his dad could pay his brothers to babysit. I mean, there were just ways that we could work out what we would do with Jason's IHSS benefits. And it was only a few hours a day. It was, I don't know how many hours he had. I think it was 3.5 hours a day, 5 days a week, something like that. It really goes by the month. So he already had that in place. When I did the math, I realized that between my Social Security for myself, Jason's small amount of Social Security that he gets for, food, shampoo, activities, clothing, whatever, and also the hours for IHSS, that I would basically be making the same amount I was at my job. So it kind of seemed like a win-win. Jason would be happier. Everybody would be, there wouldn't be so much stress and anxiety over who's going to watch him each day, right? And to be honest, I was ready to retire. So it was like the universe said, yes, let's do this. And that's how it all kind of came together. The process of the IHSS, and I don't know about other states, but in California, in-home support services, it's paid by the county. It's state funds, and it's all kind of managed through your county. So they do a needs assessment to see how many hours does this individual need in support. Well, as I said, Jason, he doesn't know how to cook for himself. He needs guidance in everything he does. He can dress himself, he can take a shower, but like I've told you in previous videos, he does eat soap, so he has to be supervised when he takes a shower or bath. He can brush his own teeth. I supervise it just because I want to make sure that he's being thorough, and he needs help sometimes getting the toothpaste on. His fine motor skills aren't great, so he needs a little bit of help there. So there are all kinds of things he needs help with. Anyway, but he does toilet himself, all of that. We're working on certain aspects of that as far as cleanliness. But the hours that they established for that basic stuff, it was pretty right on, I would say. They've given us, I believe it's 63 hours a month or something like that. And that's at minimum wage. So that tells you how it's not a lot of money that you get, but it helps. And then the other thing, though, was we realized protective supervision is something that they hadn't even assessed him for. And protective supervision would be, he can't be left home alone. He used to elope. He used to escape and run away when he was younger. And we had to constantly be diligent about making sure all the doors were locked, gates were locked, all of that, because he would get out. He got out many times when he was a toddler. It was so scary. Those days were so scary. He figured out every lock we had. It was a nightmare. He hasn't done that in a long time. It's more like he wants to hang with us now. He doesn't really want to be away from us, which is a good thing. But I wonder how long is that going to last? Once, you know, when we take walks, for example, I think, what if he decided, hey, I think I'll take a walk? Because as he learns more about his own abilities and his independence, and he starts pushing that independence more, I'm not sure what he might try to do. So protective supervision hours are important to make sure that someone is always with him, and that he's being safe. He has no real judgment when it comes to safety as far as strangers. He's inappropriate with people, so there again, you can't leave him alone in a public place because of some of his behaviors. He might do something inappropriate in public or to someone. He has no filters as far as social interaction goes. So the protective supervision hours would help to cover the fact that he's got to be watched all the time. There's a max to those hours, and we're not looking for those hours in order to, you know, make more money or anything. The whole point of it is when he does transition from under our care into his sister Miranda's care, or if anyone else had to take on his care, I want to make sure those hours are in place, and that needs assessment has made sure people understand that he needs protective supervision. He can't just be left on his own. That way, no matter what, and that could improve. Who knows? There could be some miracle drug that comes out and his autism can be cured. I don't know. But for now, in the present time, that's what we have to work with. So I just kind of wanted to go over that. And in a future video, I'd like to maybe show the process of how to even get IHSS, because I know there are going to be parents out there that are wondering, and the whole conservatorship versus guardianship, so on and so forth. I'll try to do a video about that because I think that is real important for people to understand that and how to walk through it. Of course, it'll be California based because that's all I know, but at least it would give people an idea of how to go about it, and each state has their own process, but I just want to let people know what we've gone through and give you a heads up. Please be sure, if you think your child is going to need guardianship or conservatorship, be sure to do it before they turn 18. After 18, it's very expensive. You have to have an attorney. It's a mess, and it's far more expensive. If you can get that done before your child turns 18, get their Social Security in place, everything in place, you are so far better off. Just please, if you don't listen to anything else I say, make sure you listen to that. Anyway, thanks for your time, and I hope I've given maybe some ideas for others. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to just put them in the comments down there, and I will definitely get back to you. And remember to like and share our videos so that other people who may need help or support, or just to kind of see what other parents are doing out there, so they don't feel alone. It's helpful if there are more videos out there, especially for our adult children, because there's not a lot of help out there for the adult children. Just saying, we gotta maybe do something about that. That's always in my mind. What can I do about that? And I'm sure I'll find a way. All right, well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.